Good morning, everybody. I'm new at this, so forgive me. I'm usually in front of speaking in an audience. So, anyway, remember the camera adds 10 pounds right to my face, apparently. But I wanted to talk to you about something really dear to my heart right now, which is understanding the real pandemic behind this current COVID-19 pandemic. And what we have to understand, one of the most important things to understand is that the virus is the same no matter who gets infected. But the difference in outcomes is enormous. And so the variable that must be determining the outcome can't be the virus because the virus is a constant in terms of that outcome. It's the same for everybody. The thing that is different, obviously, is something that's been dear to my heart for 20 years and something I've been warning about and preaching about for 20 years. And that is, it's the baseline health status, which is basically synonymous with baseline immune status of the people who get infected. So, this is a book I wrote, my second book, but this book I wrote in 2017. And it really just talks about how lifestyle illness, the pandemic of lifestyle illness, is the real issue. And so when you think about this pandemic, it's really a pandemic of immunocompromised human beings. The pandemic is caused by the people who get the sickest, not by the people who get infected. And we know that it's a very tiny percentage of the people who get infected that end up with really serious illness or who die. That's a tragedy. There's no doubt about it. We're not going to fix that acute crisis with lifestyle. But I hope this is a wake-up moment for all of us about just the importance of baseline health and just how horrific our current healthcare system is at improving baseline health. So I just want to read you. First of all, I just want to show you this book I published back in 2017, and it's the sort of cumulative effect of 20 years of research on my part. But chapter 1 is literally the chronic illness pandemic. And so I just want to read you a little bit from a little section in that first chapter under subtitled The Chronic Illness Plague. The Black Plague killed 30% of medieval Europe. The chronic illness pandemic, what I call the chronic illness plague, is killing 80% of the modern industrial world. Humans living in industrial habitats represent the sickest children, teenagers, adults, and elderly in the history of not just the human species, but in any species. 50% of the entire industrial population suffers with at least one chronic illness, and 55% have developed two or more. By the way, I just read this morning, 15% of adults in the United States have 5 or more chronic illnesses. 3 million people have COPD alone. Chronic illness is by far the leading cause of suffering and early death, and the chronic illness plague represents the single greatest threat to our health, our happiness, and our quality of life. Modern industrial society humans represent the least healthy, most chronic disease-ridden, most prescription drug-ridden, most overweight, least physically fit, least happy, most anxious, and depressed generation of humans that have ever walked the face of the earth. The human and financial costs of chronic illness are staggering. In the United States alone, heart disease and stroke cost over $1.3 billion, cancer $625 million, diabetes $477 million, obesity $402 million, digestive disorders $337 million per day. By 2002, spending on prescription drugs alone had reached $3.5 billion per day in the United States, and by 2013 it had surpassed $7 billion a day. This equates to $292 million per hour, $4.9 million per minute. It is estimated that by 2017, we've already passed it now, medical treatments for chronic illness will cost $4.3 trillion per year in the United States alone. On a per capita basis, these figures apply to virtually every industrialized nation. So the point I'm trying to make is that I have been arguing and literally begging people to understand and wake up to the idea of how important it is to live a healthy lifestyle and increase our baseline health and immune function. Those two things are synonymous. Long before we're ever faced with something that we're going through right now. We have to understand that 80% of deaths are caused by chronic illness. These are lifestyle illnesses, meaning that we have an enormous ability to change that trajectory. The human tragedy of unhealthy lifestyle is not on the minds of people. If we could put that on a counter, the number of people who are dying from lifestyle related illnesses, preventable illnesses, and put that on a counter on the other side of the screen from the people dying from coronavirus, people would be horrified, but it's never paid attention to. I am hoping that this tragedy that we're going through is a wake-up call for people so that we can understand that we can no longer simply feel like we can put tens of millions of people on immune compromising prescriptions because they have pro-inflammatory autoimmune diseases like ulcerative colitis or irritable bowel syndrome or rheumatoid arthritis or psoriasis, all of these things, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, obesity. There are tens and tens of millions of people with obesity who are diabetic. Both of those things well known to decrease immune function, meaning all those people are immunocompromised. There are tens of millions on these medications that we know are immunocompromising. And the vast majority of these people are in a situation where lifestyle can make a huge difference. We know these people are deficient in essential nutrients like omega-3 and vitamin D, just for two real simple examples, which we know are required by the immune system to work properly. So if you're deficient in these nutrients, it means that your immune system is compromised and is not functioning properly. 65% of older adults are sedentary. They sit for more than 8.5 hours a day, so they don't exercise. They're malnourished. They're on medications, most of them 3 to 5 or more medications. This pandemic is certainly, the virus is a very important factor in this pandemic in terms of the infectious disease. But the virus is not the important part of this pandemic in terms of what the outcome is for the people who contract this infectious disease. The single most important variable in all of this is baseline health and immunity. And I really hope that this is a wake-up call for people to just start to learn and understand the things that we have in our own power to increase our baseline health. So anyway, I don't usually do these videos. I hope I didn't stumble through that too badly. But if you want more information, certainly go to eatwellmovewellthinkwell.com. You know, the book's there, and there's more information there. But my goodness, all you need to do is make sure you're getting enough omega-3 and vitamin D. Go for a walk every day. Control some of your emotional stress. Have some strategies for that. You know, increase love, decrease anger, increase good food, decrease junk food. I mean, it's really not that complicated, but people won't make the effort to do it unless they understand the impact of it. So anyway, thank you, and I hope this brings some attention to something that's really, really important. Thank you.